diversity, inclusion, and empathy in our schools and in our communities. Dr. King fought for a world where everyone, no matter their race or gender, ability, or background, could live with dignity and equality. So today I want to share a little bit with you about my own background and journey and how the principles of Dr. King stood for have shaped both my life and my work. So let's start with a little bit about my own experiences. Now, I'm a woman who works in industries that, let's face it, are predominantly male. This includes management and leadership roles in both county and city government, where I've had the opportunity to lead teams, to collaborate with others, and to make decisions that significantly impact our communities. It can sometimes feel like walking into a room where I am the only woman at the table. And as you might imagine, that presents unique challenges, especially when you're a part of a team that makes really important decisions that affect people's lives. But it also comes with some really amazing opportunities to break down barriers and show that leadership and vision are not defined by gender. Working in these spaces has made me realize how important it is for everyone, no matter their gender, to feel included and valued. The truth is, that when you have diverse perspectives, you make better decisions. You develop more well-rounded solutions that take into account the needs of all people. And in management, it's crucial to foster an environment where all voices can be heard. And we've heard the word inclusion quite a bit, but inclusion isn't just about bringing someone into the room. It's about making sure that they have a seat at the table and then their ideas are taken seriously. And when we bring together people with different experiences and backgrounds and perspectives, we unlock creativity and innovation. Think about it this way. Imagine building a puzzle with only one color. Eventually, it'll get pretty repetitive. But if you mix in different colors and shapes, the picture becomes richer, it becomes more vibrant, and much more interesting. The same applies to leadership and management. Diversity makes teams stronger, and it makes more capable of tackling challenges. But my story isn't just about being a woman in male-dominated fields. It's also about being the mother of an absolutely brilliant young man who happens to be autistic. Now let me tell you, raising him has been an incredible journey. One that was filled with so much love, but also a lot of bumps along the way. He is an amazing young man, and his intelligence blows me away every single day. But growing up, school was not always easy for him. He struggled to fit in, had a tough time making friends, and some of his classmates had a really hard time understanding him. For example, he had a habit of standing at his desk. It didn't matter where his desk was in the classroom. And it wasn't an easy road, and let me tell you, I have learned so much, and I'm sure his teachers and fellow students also did. Learned a lot about patience and compassion and how important it is to show empathy to others. But we've all had times when we felt like we didn't fit in, right? Whether it's trying to make friends at school, or a place in a new group, or even just speak up in class, it's uncomfortable. It can feel lonely. And what I've learned through raising my son is how crucial it is to create spaces where everyone feels included, where differences are celebrated and not simply tolerated. And that brings me to something that I think is really important to all of us, especially as young people. The more and more we are hearing about mental health issues in teens and youth, anxiety and depression and other mental health challenges are affecting a lot of you. And it's okay to talk about it. It's important that we start breaking down the stigma around mental health, and here's where diversity and inclusion can make all the difference. Imagine this. You are already dealing with mental health challenge, and then you feel isolated or left out. But if you're in a community that is supportive, where people listen and you feel like you belong, and where empathy is part of the culture, it can make a world of difference in how you navigate those challenges. Inclusion isn't just about being around other people. It's about being seen. It's about being heard and valued. And when a person feels included, they're more likely to reach out for help, and they're more likely to find support. So when we talk about diversity and inclusion, it's not just about race or gender. It's about creating an environment where people, regardless of their challenges or their differences, can thrive. So when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke of justice for all, he didn't mean justice for some. He meant justice for the person who feels excluded, for the person struggling in silence with their mental health, for those who may feel that their differences make them unworthy of respect. And in the same way that we all should be creating spaces that are inclusive for everyone's mental health needs, spaces where they feel like they can share their struggles without fear and judgment, that's what Dr. King's dream was about. Recognizing the inherent dignity of every human being and ensuring that everyone, no matter what they were going through, has a chance to succeed. Now, as a state trainer for NAMI, the National Alliance of Mental Illness, I have had the privilege of speaking to schools and youth organizations about mental health and suicide prevention. I was actually here at Peninsula High School last year speaking to some of the health students. Some of you may recognize me. But I talk to students like you about how to recognize the signs when somebody's struggling, how to start conversations about mental health, and most importantly, how to be there for each other. I can tell you firsthand that diversity and inclusion play a huge role in how we support one another, especially when it comes to mental health. And when you create a culture where empathy is valued and differences are celebrated, it becomes so much easier for someone to open up and ask for help when they need it. And I want to share something with all of you. No one is alone in any of this. You don't have to carry your struggles by yourself. You don't have to solve everyone else's struggles either. But just by being kind, being inclusive, by practicing empathy, you make the world a better place for everyone, especially for those who might be silently battling with their mental health. So I'm just going to kind of shift a little bit and talk about my work with the Snohomish County Board of Health. I have the privilege of working with a group of incredibly dedicated people who are passionate about public health and making sure that everyone in our community has the opportunity to live a healthy life. Well, let me tell you, public health isn't just about hospitals and clinics. It's about everything that impacts a person's life. And we call these the social determinants of health, things like access to clean water, quality education, healthy food, safe neighborhoods, and yes, how included someone feels in their community. I'm fortunate to work with people who are committed to equity. And that means we're constantly asking ourselves, how can we make sure that all people, especially those who have been historically marginalized, have the same opportunity to succeed? Now, Dr. King's dream of justice for all echoes in our work. And as we push to break down barriers and create healthy futures for everyone, regardless of their background and circumstances. But here's where it gets fun. I'm going to tell you a little secret that sometimes the serious work can also be the most fun. And yes, I'm talking about public health here. You might be thinking, wait, health is fun. And I'm here to tell you, absolutely it can be. But why? Because when we get it right, when we break down those barriers and ensure that people feel supported, it is incredibly rewarding. Imagine being a part of a team that's working to make sure that everyone, no matter where they come from, has access to the tools they need to thrive. How would your life change? It's like being a superhero, except your cape is likely a lab coat or something, and your superpower is empathy. It's pretty cool. But one of the key lessons that I've learned through my experiences, whether it's the workplace, or raising my son, or my role in public health, is that diversity and inclusion are not just buzzwords. They are necessities. We need to keep pushing for a world where everyone is treated with respect. As Dr. King said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And his message wasn't simply about racial equality. It was about a world where everyone, regardless of their race, regardless of their ability, gender, mental health, or background, is included and valued. So I want to leave you with this thought. You have the power to make that world happen. It doesn't take some big grand gesture. It can be something as simple as a kind word, standing up for someone, or making sure that someone who feels left out is brought in. The change starts with you. So as we reflect today on Martin Luther King Jr.'s life and legacy, let's think about how we can be change makers in our own communities. Let's commit to not just accepting differences, but embracing them, celebrating them, and making sure that everyone has a place where they feel safe, supported, and respected. Thank you.